Morning, fellow zombies. Are we alive yet? Are we awake yet? It's 2:46 in the morning, West Coast time. It's the 26th, the day after Christmas, December 2024, Thursday. A zombie, we were John C. Roseman, California, not alive, not awake, and wondering why he's here. Anyway, yesterday, yeah, I was thinking of posting some other videos, and I'm still debating on the issue, concerning about how I was feeling about the holiday season. Grinchy like, and just trying to get past the thing. Got a friend call last night. You wanted to wish me a Merry Christmas, and we started talking about things happening at home, at his place and mine. It was something. It was needed. It was like a shot of humanity and decency going through. Hooking up with an old friend on the phone just to talk instead of just a few minutes. I mean, we did some talking left and right, and it mattered a lot. It mattered a great deal to me. I think in a way it was trying to give me something to hold on to. I was worried that people kind of forgot about me. I mean, I read some of the postings online, but it was still, I needed a human touch. On a holiday season like Christmas, I think one needs a personal touch of somebody actually giving a shit. Even it has to be a voice on the phone and a bit of talking. It helps. It helps in dealing with a holiday season that seems like miserable. It's misery. Nobody cares. So why should you be that way? Be a miserable Grinch and Scrooge at the same time. Yeah, but an old friend, yeah, that needed it. I needed it. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful to my friend. Okay, that being said, yesterday I was also checking on social media stuff, YouTube, just to see if there was anything interesting. I came across something that rang bells in me about American history and compared to New Zealand. With limited information, I should have been doing a deep dive on this one. I really should. Australia and New Zealand had their own indigenous out there, their own people over there, but get pushed out by manifest destiny and stuff to the point where you had to fight for your own independence or constantly fight in the new world and new government and new policies just to continue their own ways, and whether or not your ways are going to be compatible to the actually your old ways are going to be compatible to the new ways. The Maori are indigenous in New Zealand. You ever seen how they respond to stress or threats or force? Yeah, in a group, they show their displeasure. They were trying to protect promises that were given to them about how they were supposed to be handled because they were originally there. They should have been given credence, respect. They should have been given their own sovereignty. But the problem is when you deal with a new world invading the old world, sovereignty is overlooked. U.S. history shows me that too much. We didn't show too much of it in high school growing up or in elementary school years earlier. Not that much of it anyway. I mean, yeah, we talked about the colonies coming in, but we didn't talk about the ugly stuff about it. Everything was glossed over. It's not until we actually did deep dives when we get older and we start researching the stuff what happened. And then we start thinking about a conquering hero turns out to be a conquering villain. Tried to change his ways, but initially, and it's still stuck with him throughout generations. About an explorer turned to be a villain, and they can't change him back. Can't change the past on this guy. But it's not just the one guy doing the exploration in the Caribbean. No, 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 no. We're talking about a different uh, a different European countries wanting more territory. The United States wasn't the United States when the settlers or explorers from or invaders from Europe came over. People say new land. Okay, time to move in. Well, you got neighbors over there. It's like coming into a neighborhood. You see already houses over there, and you're saying, "Oh, good, let's pick one." You ever heard about squatters? We got problems concerning about squatters in our own country here in our own current time. That have to be civil courts spending thousands and thousands of dollars in legal fees and court fees in order to settle or to get rid of squatters. That's like somebody coming into your home and setting up residence, and you've already been there for years, and telling you got to get out because I'm squatting in your place. There are certain rules and there are certain laws on the book that are not exactly criminal, but they have to be looked at as either criminal or civil case, mostly civil. Even an empty house that's on the market being sold off for rent or going to be sent out for rent or sold itself can be turned into a squatting place. And it takes the landlord more resources to get the squatter out, take them to court and sue the crap out of them. And they lose eventually. Or they lose money or they lose property or both. But it takes them a long time to get them out. Maori is facing something similar. And I'm going to get to that in a couple of seconds because I kept thinking about the Native Americans or the indigenous people that we've actually had here. We call them Native Americans, but they're still the indigenous. They had tribes all over the place in the New World when the European settlers came in, or invaders, or explorers, however you want to look at them. But they came in doing squatting. They took over territories and forced the indigenous to conform or comply by the threat of a musket. There's also peaceful ones who just wanted coexistence. And in certain circumstances, that happened as well. New cultures trying to learn from each other. Some cultures were actually better equipped because they weren't there to invade. They were just to find a place to stay away from the original places they were coming from because of things happening they couldn't deal with at all. It's conflicting as hell. But when we actually had established governments maneuvering the indigenous people away, the more we have colonies set up, the more we had states set up, country formed, and expanding territory. Oh yeah, we could negotiate with the invading countries coming in, but we couldn't really negotiate with the indigenous except squeeze them out and put them into camps, their own little territories that are rotten. The more I kept studying about history as I got older and going through a second bout of college, first bout didn't work. 2 years screwed up on that one. And then decades later, going back in and discovering more and more of the history that should have been taught a long time ago. but it wasn't. And then I'm starting to see things in a different light, left and right. I'm understanding a little bit more with maturity and time, experience, and then shaking my head. Why the hell did we start up our country in the first place without taking these people into account? We should have. We didn't. We're still pushing them around. They have their own sovereignty because we recognize the sovereignty. In certain territories or states, we have areas where native and indigenous are in charge of their own territory. They've given their own sovereignty, their own little place within our country to have as their own. Certain laws enacted, certain legal ways of, for them to exist compared to our new world. But they still had to have representation. But they needed more representation in our country, in our political field. They really do. So imagine when I was reading about New Zealand, one time was left leaning, trying to give Maoris their own sovereignty, and then the right steps in, takes over, probably gets elected through, and says, "Oh no, you don't. Who the hell do you think you are? You can't. You can't have your sovereignty. Ugh. No way you can have your sovereignty, Maori. Ugh." So there was protest in their own Congress when bills were passing or trying to get passed. The Maoris were talking about how unfair it was because of treaties and decisions made and promises made. I was seeing this on a PBS Hour video cast that was about a couple of days ago. It's mentioned New Zealand's rightward shift ignites mass protests from indigenous Maori people. But there's a few other related articles on that one there too. I mean, when I was starting to see this thing, I'm like, we don't talk about it as much out here. I think it would scare the hell out of people if the indigenous out here, if the nation, I'm not talking about United States nation, I'm talking about the nation of the tribes, would actually say, enough's enough. And really did some serious protesting within states and also on the U.S. Capitol steps of saying that we're not treated fairly enough. We need more representation. We need to have a seat. We need to be treated as such. Problem is, they don't have a state of their own. Now, granted, they've got sovereignty in certain areas that we already assigned to them. And they've already got their own issues that are stemming from our own decisions. Should have been treated a hell of a lot better, that's for damn sure. Out here in the West Coast and California, we've got tribes trying to make do and trying to use what they've learned and succeeding. Not many, but a few of them. Getting more and more financial and political power. I'm not quite sure if the other tribes in California are surviving as much. But I want to see them have more and more say. I know it's going to be changing our landscape left and right. But if it's not changing the landscape, it should have. It would change our perspective and everything else in the world. And how we would view people. And right now, we don't view people as people at all. Just things and ideas. We just treat them as nothing. Our Congress doesn't. Our politicians are doing the same assholes we keep voting into office. And newly elected ones are about to screw over people left and right. In fact, one of the gas bags, the chief gas bag, still wants to conquer land. When I heard about wanting the Panama Canal, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I had to study a little bit about it. Just give myself a little bit of a brief overview on that one. And to see what kind of issues we're dealing with. And I'm thinking, you don't want this. Guy's looking at the bunny. My name is charging us. You don't want this. Well, look how many people they got going through the locks. You don't want this. Because the asshole doesn't listen to the right people. It's not the politics. It's practicality and actual. I kept learning about the Panama Canal having issues more and more because the man's involvement is screwing up the climate for everybody. You don't think just one section of the world's going to get affected? We're talking global. What does the term global mean? Everybody around the world. Anything on the world is going to be affected left and right by climate change. Whatever we accepted as normal, it's either amplified or exchanged for something. And Central America, they depend upon a consistent climate. They depend upon seasonal rain for their agriculture, but for their businesses and for their government's livelihood. When I see a couple of countries in Central America trying to make their own canals just so they can get into the business, there's got to be alarm bells ringing on that damn thing right there. Because you don't tear apart your country in half, literally. Unless, of course, you got to make changes because the world's changing, because everyone else screwed up the damn planet. Panama relies upon a consistent climate. It relies upon a consistent rain. They're in a drought situation. There's only so much they can use for the locks, and each lock is dependent upon a lake that's drying up. They don't get enough water into that particular lake. That means consistent rain going in it. It's going to be affecting their climate. It's going to be affecting their country in many ways, which will be affecting the world in many ways. And Mexico is trying to cash in on it, but they're supporting Panama in their situation. They're trying to make if I understand somebody engineering, and I'm no guru on anything, I'm just trying to learn a lot of things in my head, trying to cram it through here. But if I can understand it that where Panama had mountainous ranges and lakes that are in those kind of regions, and utilizing the lakes in a way by putting up locks for ships to go through from one side of an isthmus to another side of the isthmus. That's an engineering feat that had been worked upon a long time ago. They didn't think about droughts because they thought the weather was consistent. These days, no. Mexico, I'm thinking, and I got to study the geography of this one to see if it's right or not. If it's a flatline area, or without going any steps, but just a straight through, digging through their country. I'm hoping maybe this will work better than the steps from one level to another level and going out to the isthmus. Now Mexico's trying to do it. I think right along the Nicaraguan area. It would be interesting to see this within my lifetime, how they're going to do this one. And they're spending billions, and it's going to take some time for them to get this canal over there working because they want it as well. It's for their own country's business, but it's also helping the world out one way or another. I got to think it in altruistic fashions here. But no, we got a orange-faced gas bag here who wants the money, wants control, wants the power. Wants to tell the country, you can't have that because we say so. And we're going over there to tell you so. It did that over to Panama, and Panama said, fuck you. Mexico, fuck you. Mexico and Panama doing the same thing to Trump. Fuck you. Trump also turned his interest into Canada. Maybe he wanted to make it into a 51st. I mean, he was telling that to people left and right. I don't know if he was just mouthing off like he usually does or if he actually means it. Or maybe somebody else told him to do this. I don't know. It was pretty damn dumb how to screw up your allies left and right. Canada and Mexico are our neighbors, our trading partners. But he's screwing that thing over left and right. And then he looks at Greenland and says, "Oh, good. Well, since we got a permanent base over there, maybe we should own it." No, because it's managed by another country of Netherlands. And they practically told Trump, "Ha ha ha ha. Yeah, right, sure. We could give you a financial incentive for it. I mean, this could be ours." Yeah, right. It's not going to happen. What's he going to do? Invade him? I won't put it past the bastard. Oh, no, no. It's not him specifically. It's the followers that follow the asshole. I'm worried about that one. But turning back to New Zealand, as I was saying before, the Maori in their own Congress stood up and yelled at the people in their own chant. It was wonderful watching that thing going on. Their war haka. Oh, if you hadn't seen the hakas on there, man. The sporting arenas or different areas that you're teaching the kids how to continue on with the Maori tradition. That was so fun watching that thing in the tubes. That yell, the looks and faces and stuff like that. I'm like, wow. I didn't realize it. But it has cultural significance. I loved it. But they expressed their own cultural displeasure with the right wing Congress, and the people voted them in there. So they've got a lot of changes and a lot of tactics to use in there, don't they? Hopefully, the peaceful ones. I hope it works out in New Zealand. I really do. I like for them to see it get some sovereign territory, but also sovereign rights. Promises are needed to be kept. Except right wing doesn't like to keep their promises. Left tries, but not as good. Yeah, a lot of things happening in the world that kind of ticked me off and it got my interest during the time. Because I'm still wondering, are we in a particular place we actually can deal with? Christmas is supposed to be, in the Christian fashion, one of the holiest days that we actually have because we're celebrating the birth of a Savior for our sins, right? Well, I think there was a Grinch named Putin decided he's going to send his own Christmas greetings by stealing hopes and hearts and everything else by launching attacks on Kiev. I saw that news. I saw what was in the news flashes concerning about it, and I'm still scratching my head over it. Santa Putin is no Santa Putin, that's for damn sure. Not when he's trying to destroy people left or right and calls it, screw him. Merry Christmas. Flips the bird off as he hits the button and missiles fly. Depressing as hell. I had on another channel I was watching and catching the clips of them. A church I attend to, or still working on attending to all the time. And one of the sermons was trying to be of peacemakers. We got a problem concerning about being peacemakers. We don't know how to be peacemakers. And if we did, why are we hurting everybody left and right? Just to satisfy our own insanity? It's just. I hear Louis Armstrong's song of What a Wonderful World. If we only knew the world we had. But the problem is, back then, he was in a time from the 20s and 30s, 40s, when upgrading from one lousy war into another major war during that time. Maybe he's trying to think of something positive things to say about our planet one way or another. Is it about people? Is it about the physical world in itself? Is it in between? I don't know. For right now, all I'm going to hear is fear mongering and finger pointing and a lot more instability happening. The president's supposed to bring some kind of calm and order, but not when you got instability going on through your damn head. We're in for it, boys and girls. We are. That being said,